Sara Dady is back tonight to dive into some recent political headlines. Sara, thanks for being here.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yes, mass deportation is something everyone has been talking about for the last few weeks. So tell me what's going on right now.
So since the election, a big issue was immigration, of course, and a lot of talk about mass deportation. So what does that mean? Well, it means that Immigration and Customs Enforcement, which is the agency charged with looking for people who have immigration violations and then putting them in deportation proceedings, what priorities do they have? So what specific immigration violations are they looking for? Under the current administration, first, the priority is people who pose a danger to the United States. And then people who have come into the United States without permission recently. And, you know, the priority list goes down from there. Under the new administration coming in, there is no priority list.
Okay.
So that means everybody is a priority, including people who pose no danger to the United States, who have been here for many years, paying taxes, have U.S. citizen children. But that's going to present some issues.
So what rights do people in deportation processings have?
That's a good question. So yes, people who are here in violation of our civil immigration laws, it's a civil offense, not a criminal.
Okay.
So it's a civil process. They still have some basic due process rights. A lot of people don't know that. They think that if they came in without permission or they overstayed a visa, they have no rights. That's not true. One, people have the right to not answer questions from law enforcement. That's generally true, whether it's criminal or civil. People have the right to a hearing with an immigration judge, with a few exceptions. And that's important because there are applications for legal status that people can make only to an immigration judge. They can't proactively make it unless they are actually in deportation proceedings. So it's very important that people do know that they do have a right to a hearing and they do have a right to make applications for legal status if they're eligible.
So most of what we've talked about so far, whether it is federal or seems federal, but there's something in Illinois, you said, is it all the same here locally, or what? Where does it break down?
You know, immigration is a task of Congress by the Constitution, right? So we have federal agencies in charge of enforcing immigration law. That's Immigration and Customs Enforcement, which is a civil law enforcement agency for immigration violations. But states can make some rules, some laws around what they will or will not do under the anti-commandeering doctrine from the Supreme Court. So in Illinois passed a law that said, look, ICE can do its job, but they're not going to use our state and local resources to do their job for them. So we have the Illinois Trust Act, which prohibits police officers from cooperating with ICE, which is a federal civil law enforcement agency. So we want our police officers to investigate crimes and deal with crimes, right? Not civil violations. So there's a clear line between federal ICE and our local police. And that's important because we want victims of crimes, regardless of their legal status, to trust our police, to call when a crime is committed against them, to cooperate with law enforcement as witnesses in criminal trials and things like that.
Sure.
So it's really important in Illinois that we have that hard line so people do feel comfortable and trusting of police officers in the state of Illinois.
So you said you have been getting a lot of phone calls on this because it's new, possibly confusing. There could be a lot going on in the future. So can other people call you too if they didn't call you yet?
Well, of course. So people with immigration questions should absolutely feel free to call my office with their questions. It's important that everyone knows what their situation is. You know, we've got just under 500,000 undocumented people in the state of Illinois. We've got about 30,000 people with DACA. I expect this new administration to terminate the DACA program. So then we're going to have 30,000 more left without legal status. But the bottom line is the majority of people, if they had a way to apply for legal status, they would have done it already. So really the problem is Congress. Congress is not providing a way for people that we want to be here and live here and pay taxes to apply for legal status in the first place.
All right, so Sara, of course, is your resource for everything revolving immigration or anything else that we're talking about today. So many different ways you can get a hold of her. You can see that all on your screen. Thank you so much for being here. Coming up next, we're taking you behind the scenes of this year's Stroll on State. We'll tell you where you can find us during Stroll on State, too. We'll be right back.